Let's talk March Madness. Let's do it. Let's talk March Madness. When I think madness, one of the things I think about is Genius Hour. My school has like a 4-year history of Genius Hour. I've learned a ton, and I know there've been books written about it and stuff, but sometimes it's nice to hear a case study, right? So this is a case study. Every school does it really differently. I know some classroom teachers do it in their classroom. I think some schools, some like STEAM people do it. I think everybody does it a little bit different. There's a million ways to do it. First, I'll talk about our logistics. Genius Hour is hard. Like, it's hard. Like, it's so disorganized, and you don't know where you're going with it, and you don't even know what you're going to be doing. So here's some like little tips. This is from an 8th grade perspective. I teach at a small school. So we do it once a week. I like once a week because, well, it's Genius Hour, right? So most people do it once a week. So there's nothing new there. We have a team. We're fortunate enough to have a team of do it. So it's me, the tech guy, our art teacher, and our librarian for the research piece, which is actually an interesting team of 3. And here's my pride and joy. I'm going to show you my pride and joy. Here it is, the spreadsheet. I took us a year to figure this out, but this like runs the show. Now I've blanked out the student's name, but like step 1 of Genius Hour, like figuring out a topic. That takes a couple weeks if you teach middle school because they don't know what they love. Right? So you got to find a topic, and it took some of our kids many, many weeks, and you can see the topic. We have a very wide variety. Baking. Lawrence of Arabia. There's a funny story about Lawrence of Arabia documentary. So there's this kid who, he's a tech guy. He wanted to do the lighting. He wanted to do like theater lighting, but he's like, no, I want to make a war documentary. I'm like, okay. And then he's like, that's kind of broad. I'm like, yeah, it is kind of broad. So like, let's do World War I. I'm like, okay, fine, World War I documentary. I was like, well, World War I documentary is just too broad. I want to do Lawrence of Arabia. I'm like, fine, you have at it. Lawrence of Arabia documentary, it is. And that sort of tells, that's my one lesson learned is like, I think whoever does it, you need that person who can pull out people's passions. I'm bad at art. That's why I'm an art guy. I'm bad at research, but I'm good. One thing I'm good at is pulling people's passion out of them. So I literally sat down with this kid for, I don't know how many times, 2-3 times, and just like sitting down for like 10, 20 minutes saying, okay, war documentary is too broad. I'm like, now what are you going to do? And that's a huge key step. Like they have to buy in. It's Genius Hour, man. They have to buy in. If that's the whole, if they don't love it, then they're not going to do a good job. So you spend weeks doing it, weeks. And we have an advisor. So you see right there, there's 3 people on the team, and it's like loosely centered on, so I'm kind of a filmmaker, so like I would be that kid's documentary, whereas like the artist guy does one kid's making a scale model of an aircraft carrier, so that's the art teacher who's advising him. So we assign them an advisor who's that person to sort of sit down with them. And then here's another thing we learned: benchmarks. So there's 3 benchmarks, 3 due dates. Every kid has a different thing to do on their due date. So they have the same due date. Like you gotta have deadlines, right? That's what motivates us as humans. So the baking kid has to create 2 dishes and document the process, either in film or pictures or whatever. The Lawrence of Arabia kid has to have all his research done and a full script written. So and it's a contract. Over here, there's like a little initials thing where the teacher and the student have to initial this Google Doc. So everybody's on board, and they help write it. They need help writing this because, again, they don't know how to benchmark and how to time manage because they're middle schoolers, right? That like frontal cortex not developed yet. So like you create these benchmarks with them, and it works super, super well. They have deadlines. If they don't hit that deadline, man, we email parents in a heartbeat. Man, parents are awesome, right? Oh, Johnny did not do his Lawrence of Arabia research. Like the next day, you get a whole research. So it's awesome. So we totally get parents on board. Are they working solo? Great question. Mostly individual because that's kind of the intention. That's like a personal thing. Okay, so we have our little spreadsheet. Now what? Now, what do you do for the first few weeks when they don't have a topic? Like, you can't jump right into research. Like, this kid did not know he was doing Lawrence of Arabia for a month. So what do you do for the first month? Day 1 is just like logistics. Like, here's what, we're going to have benchmarks, you're going to have an advisor. What do you do in week 2 when a kid doesn't have a topic? Well, here's what we do. And I'm open to ideas if somebody has better ideas. But we want to, what the hard part about, what the hardest part? Like, kids want to bake. You know what they don't want to do is research about baking. So parents push back a little bit because, like, kids were, like, making cookies for their Genius Hour. And so, like, to make it rigorous, we had to build in research. So they have to do research. There needs to be rigor, right? So the cooking guy has to do a research project on cooking science or something. The first research project is, I don't know if you can read the title, mini biography. Anybody. If you don't have a topic, middle schoolers, they need superstructure, superstructure. So here's brainstorming, and then they have to pick a person. We do a KWL chart, what do you already know about? And then the research. Right? Super structured, super scaffolded. We teach the paraphrasing lesson here. This is really their first major research project. They do like little ones in like English class and stuff, but it's like their first like big research project. So we talk about paraphrasing. We talk about plagiarism here. They have to paste the link here. One new thing I tried this week was the first source. Usually I used to start with Wikipedia. The first source has to be a movie. right? Some of our kids don't read so well. So it makes the research kind of fun. Watch a documentary about, Lawrence of Arabia or something. Paste the source here, write down a couple facts, paraphrase a couple facts. Then go to Wikipedia for your second source. And then Wikipedia's not enough, right? We got to teach that for information literacy. So then go to wherever. Go to, lawrenceofarabia.com or wherever. And so, bam, research. They make a really brief slideshow, 5 slides, 5 to 10 slides. They share it out to the class. So that takes like a month, right? By then, hopefully, you've got everybody zeroed in on their project, right? And you're ready for the real research project. Now, the nice thing is, notice how the research looks a whole lot like the other research project, right? KWL chart. Oh, essential question, right? Very important. We're an essential question. We pay a lot of money for like Britannica and Explora. They have to use our assets. The public libraries have these things, like these databases, right? They're good. These are good vetted sources, right? So they're in deep. They're in deep into the research project, right? Britannica, ebooks, maybe a video source. We go to the library, we do some print sources, and then video resources, and then last thing is internet resources. So which is the hardest, right? Because information literacy and fact and fiction on the internet, and the librarian's kind of in the lead for the next couple weeks. And they do this research project on their topic. Same drill, they do a little slideshow. And now we're like 10 weeks in, 12 weeks in, and we're ready to actually start the project. Like, the outcome cannot be a slideshow, right? They have to do something. They have to cook some dishes. They have to make a documentary. We start that about 12 weeks in. After they've done the research and they dive deep. You know what else we learned? They need the most help with the research. They don't need help baking. I couldn't help them with baking if I wanted to, right? They can teach themselves baking. They want to teach themselves baking. You know what they can't do is research. That's why we spend most of the time in class doing research. And the funny thing is, how are you going to bake at school? Like, we have like one kitchen, we have 45 minutes. Like a lot of these projects cannot be done at school. That's why we don't have that much time devoted to it. So they're supposed to make the documentary on their own. They're 8th graders, man. They're supposed to be like lifelong learners. That's in our mission statement, probably in yours too, right? Now they're actually working, and you're sitting down next to them, like helping them do whatever they do. Helping the cooking kid pick out recipes. What's a sous chef? I don't know, right? By then, they're kind of invested. They can kind of manage themselves at that point. They're kind of unruly at first because it's like totally new. Like, they don't know, what? I can do anything? What? You're not telling me what to do? So it's like a rough road. But then they kind of get it. They kind of buy in. And hopefully by now, not 100% chance, they bought in and you don't have to do a lot of behavior management. You can actually leave a couple kids alone while you conference with individual kids. Great. Okay, and then we're done. Like, we do 2 share outs. This is a big deal. We share out to parents on the weekend. This is a 3-hour affair. Every 8th grade presents. We give them a 10-minute slot, 8 minutes of presenting, 2 minutes Q&A. And then we do a second presentation in school so that other kids, the 6th graders are not going to show up on a Saturday. We have like a little assembly period. And we do it a second time to model for the future generation. Like, hey, this is awesome. You're going to do this. Yeah, and then we do 2 share. That's it. Then you're done. And we do a little like a feedback sheet at the end, like what did you learn and stuff. And that's really about it.